Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Orange Pill Podcast. My name is Graham Elwood. We're here from the beautiful Orange Pill Studios in downtown San Salvador, the capital of Bitcoin. Thank you for joining us today, folks. We have an exciting show. We're going to talk about numerous things, and I'm going to do some Q&A. Max and Stacy are busy. They're traveling. They're doing some stuff, but they wanted me to keep the show going, and that is what we are doing because there's always news to be talking about. We're going to talk about we're going to go through what the prices were at the last 4 halvings and give an idea of maybe what's going to happen. The halving is in about 27 days, the Bitcoin halving. The celebrations for Bitcoin halving parties start in about a little over a week and a half. There's one here on the 2nd in San Salvador. Then there's a big halving party out at the Mizati Beach. Bitcoin Beach is having one the 6th, 7th, and 8th. They're having one in Berlin, El Salvador on the 8th and 9th. I know there's Bitcoin halving parties all over the world. There's one in Santorini, Greece, which is, I think, in a week and a half or so. But the actual halving will probably be around the 20th of April. But welcome to everybody in the chat. How are you? Let me know where you are watching from. We have people watching on the Orange Pill YouTube channel, and of course my YouTube channel, and the Orange Pill Twitter account. Say hello. Sound off. Let me know where you're at. Let me know where you are at. So I see people from all of the chats, from Orange Pill's YouTube and from my YouTube. Love your shows, Graham, from the UK. Right on. You're watching. Yeah, tell everybody in the chat where you're from. It's good to hear Fort Worth, Texas is here. Awesome. Nice. Texas has a lot of Bitcoin mining going on in Texas. Let us know where you're at. Hawaii. Oh, right on, Will. Dude, what island? I love Hawaii. NorCal is here. Outstanding. Someone they're from Flexing Muscles. 1618 is from Flexing Muscles. That's great. Hey, Graham, it's Jerry from the streets of El Tunco. What's up, Jerry? Good to have you, my friend. El Tunco. That's where I live. El Tunco is great. El Paso, Texas in the house. Good to have you. Good to get shouting out where everybody's at. Of course, like, share, and subscribe. You see that screen on the screen below to @OrangePillPod, @Max Kaiser, @Stacy Herbert, and @Graham Elwood. Hello from Yalta, Crimea, Russia. Oh, wow. Somebody watching from the void. Outstanding. We're going to try. I mean, it's somewhat Bitcoin related. There's a terrorist attack that happened in Moscow. It's Bitcoin related in the sense that, if the whole world got on Bitcoin, we wouldn't have all these ridiculous wars. Hey, dude, love the studio digs. Matt S., what's up? Regular to the Political Vigilante Show. This is the Orange Pill Studios. I've been here for 2 months. It's been awesome. The staff here has been fantastic. I learned about Salvadorian music today. There's like salsa music, and then the Salvadorian version of that is called Cubia? What's it called? Cubia. Cubia. All right. I learned about that today. I'm coming from the future of El Salvador to say we made it. Right on. Yeah, what happened in Moscow is pretty rough. I was trying to reach out to Syrian girl. She was live streaming. Let me see. I'm talking to her right now. Hold on. I want to talk to someone that's in Moscow. It's relevant in the sense too, in that, Max and Stacy were on Russian TV, RT. I was on it. I didn't have a regular show, but I absolutely, I've been to Moscow. I just reached out to some friends living in Moscow and asked them if they're okay. They said they're fine. Yeah, there's a bunch of people I know living in Moscow right now. So there's a comedian I know there. I'm going to reach out to him. So, it's pretty gnarly, man. And this is why I like Bitcoin. We can just get out of this war nonsense, get out of this war nonsense. Steve, Big English Stand Up. Let's see how he's doing. So that's what's going on. We're going to talk about the halving. Yeah, Bitcoin means peace. Absolutely. Peter says he has as many friends in Moscow as well. Yeah, 100 people wounded. Reports said that the U.S. Embassy in Russia knew of an imminent attack. Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah. Should I put more money into Bitcoin right now or wait to see if it goes down a bit more? I have 4K to invest in. That's a great question. I think, and everybody, Holly Horn, our moderator, is here. Everybody's financial situation is different. But for me, with Bitcoin, it's all about buying Bitcoin and holding it. So it's gone down a little bit. It's at 63,000. It's going to go back up. We've talked about this, recently. So last week we hit an all-time high of 73,700 roughly right there. And every time there's an all-time high, there's always a little bit of a sell-off. On the show we did Wednesday, Max explained how in the ETF space you have people that put in sell orders when it reaches an all-time high. So there's just always going to be a little bit of a sell-off. So if it was me, I would buy now because it's going to go up, and I would hold on to it. I mean, if you want to take some profits, okay, but I mean, hold on. Buying it at 63 when Bitcoin's at 100,000 a coin, 200,000 a coin, 300,000 a coin. Is it going to matter if you bought it at 63 or 68? No. It's buy and hold. Do I think XRP? I don't follow those shit coins anymore at all. I don't know what XRP is doing. I wouldn't buy any. If you're going to buy anything, just buy Bitcoin. That's, yes. I've been holding since 2021 and portfolio is at 140K. Plus I'm a minimum wage earner. Bitcoin is king. Right on. HODL. Yes. Remember, there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin ever mined. There's already 21 million out there in circulation, and probably somewhere, who knows for certain, but there's probably they estimate close to 1 million Bitcoin have been just lost or destroyed. That'll never be there. So you already have a limited supply, and the halving is coming. And as I said, 27 days. So yeah, it is a good buying opportunity. It's on sale. Yeah, the super chats are back. I love these live streams, man. Yeah, HODL forever, right on. Let me go back and check to see if Syrian Girl is possibly coming on. I don't know what time is in Moscow. It might be pretty late there, actually. The time in Moscow it's a little after midnight. So it's getting late there. I believe 2 million are lost forever. Yeah, I don't know how they can tell that number, but we have over 223 people watching on all of the platforms. Like, share, subscribe, put a positive comment in the chat. Why don't you like some of the shit coins? They go up with Bitcoin, so why would it be bad to idea and invest in them? For example, Solana. Because they're not decentralized. This is the difference. If a coin has a CEO, it's not decentralized. So if you want to invest in those, go for it. But just know it's not the same as Bitcoin. They're like securities. It's like buying stocks. So if you want to play in the stock market, you can play in the altcoin market if you want. But I wouldn't. It's not me. I'm not going to. I used to. I used to own some of the shit coins. So yeah. Yeah, they're securities. The altcoins are securities like stocks. Bitcoin is a commodity like gold, meaning there's a finite supply of it. And the price of Bitcoin can be manipulated in that, somebody can buy a bunch or sell a bunch or whatever, but the Bitcoin itself can't be manipulated. A Bitcoin whale can manipulate the price if they sell off a bunch or they buy a bunch or something like that. But you look at a lot of these altcoins, they were all pump and dump scams. They released the coin and they had one pump. And that's when the owners sold off the coins or whatever. Bitcoin has had pullbacks, but it has kept going up and up and up. So that's the thing you got to understand. If you want to play in the altcoin, the shitcoin space, go for it. But it's not the same thing as Bitcoin. Just got to understand that. Yeah, Bitcoin is the innovation and can't be replicated. Bitcoin has the ability to pull the keys, unlike the COMEX market. Still have Ethereum, not sure what to do with it. Well, that's a great question. If you still have some, like if you still have some Ethereum, depending on the price you bought it. Like I know someone who bought a bunch of Ethereum when it was under 400 and they're still holding it. Which, all right, what is it at today? 33, 3,400 or something like that. And they're hoping it's going to go up to 10,000 and then they'll have a bunch of money. That could happen. Or you could just convert it to Bitcoin and know that it's going to go up in the long run. If you hold Bitcoin for roughly 5 years, you will make money. Look at every 5-year cycle, you've made money. Why do I have a double standard on El Salvador and Cuba? I don't have a double standard. I don't understand that. I too once was a shitcoiner, then I grew up. So someone is asking some questions about the I am a shitcoiner for one project. I actually believe in an allocation of less than 1%. I'm an investor. Yeah, it's like a security. Bukele is treated like a darling, yet Cuba's made out to be evil. I don't know who, from where. The United States has smeared Bukele, and they smear Cuba. Like the United States media has completely unfairly treated Bukele. So I don't know who's they or who you're talking about. So you need to clarify that. The United States has printed all this crazy stuff about El Salvador and Bukele. It's not accurate. But let's talk about the Bitcoin halving. Let's talk about the pricing. A lot of people are asking, like, what is the price going to be, right, when we have the halving? So let's go here. First of all, bam. Okay, so this is interesting. This is the halving of 2012. Bitcoin price was at $12. That's this price right here, right? Okay, so this is the point that we're making, is why it just keeps going up and up. Okay, so where was it? Yeah. So then this is the 2016 halving. The price of Bitcoin was $648. And look between these two. It had some ups and downs. Like it had an all-time high of 1,000 and then came back down before the halving. Okay. Same thing here between 2016 and the next halving of 2020. Right in here, this peak right here, this was the all-time high of 20,000. okay? Then it came way down. Then it really crashed. So the next halving in 2020 was in May, right? May 11th. So if you remember, this is 4 years ago now, March 15th-ish or whenever, that's when the whole world got shut down because of COVID. And that's when the Bitcoin price crashed to 3,900. So it was at 8,500 at the halving. So let's talk about this last 4 years, right? So it went from 8,500 in May of 2020, right? By April of 2021, a year later, it hit an all-time high of 69,000. So it went from 8,500 to 69,000 in 12 months, right? So this is right in here, the all-time high. Then it came down. Then it's right. Now we've already had a new all-time high. So look, before every halving, there was an all-time high and then a correction, a pullback. All-time high, right here, all-time high, all-time high, all-time high, all-time high. So roughly 27 days, April 20th, roughly, as we get closer and how the blocks are having and all that hash rate stuff, then we'll know. But around April 20th, so a little less than a month, 3 weeks or so, the halving is going to happen. What will the price be at? Today, it's at a, we're talking about a 15% pullback in the last week, right? If we look at the price, look at the price right now. Let me bring the price up. So in 3 weeks, will it be at another all-time high? So the price right now is about 63,100, roughly in there, okay? So it's come down significantly in the last week. Yeah, it's pulled back $10,000 in the last week, right? An all-time high of 73,800. That happened about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And now we're at 63,100 roughly. So any number of things could happen before the halving, but I think after the halving is when the price will start going up. Because again, every one of these halvings, there was a new all-time high. Every one of these halvings, there was a new all-time high. So there's going to be a new all-time high. I think that is safe to say. It's never done less than 500% after halving. Yeah, I mean, it's gone up insane amounts. I mean, 8,500 to 69,000. I mean, that's a $60,000 increase. What is what is that? An 8x? I mean, that's pretty insane. How high are we going by the end of 2024? Well, okay, so let's talk about that. Let's go bring this back, and I have another bookmark here. This is from Max, right? So the House just passes a $1.2 trillion spending bill. Max writes, thank you, word I'm not going to say, $220,000 in play. So this is the thing, we've talked a lot about on the show that Max keeps kind of reiterating. Stacy's reiterated this with all of the money printing, right? This will, in the long run, benefit Bitcoin. So we've talked about this before. There's roughly $400 trillion in global assets. If you add up all of the assets of everything, everyone's bank account, everybody's gold, stocks, 401k, pension, whatever, it adds up to $400 trillion. Bitcoin right now is about $1.4 trillion in market cap, right? So let's see what it's doing. It is today it's at 1.2 trillion, right? A week and a half, 2 weeks ago, when it was at the all-time high, it was about 1.4 trillion. So we'll call it 1.2 trillion right now. So if Bitcoin gets to, and as the dollar gets worse and people pull their money out of the dollar, which is like bonds and stuff like that, and commercial real estate is collapsing, we've talked about. The residential real estate market is artificially inflated thanks to people like BlackRock. So as people get scared and pull their money out of other assets and put it into Bitcoin, so gold is $14 trillion. There's $14 trillion of all the total assets in the world are in gold. What if people start pulling their money out of gold and putting it into Bitcoin, right? You're talking about, we go from 1.2 trillion to 14, that's a 14x, right? That puts us at 700,000. So even if we go to, if we just get to 1% of Bitcoin gets to 1% of global assets. So that means we go from 1 trillion to 4 trillion. So that's a 4x. We go 63,000 times 4 is roughly $220,000. That's how Max gets this number. So it's not outlandish. It's not outlandish. And the ETF helped push this latest all-time high. But then, it got to its all-time high. And as Max was explaining last episode on Wednesday, then people pull out when it hits an all-time high, which is, that's what's the dumb money. So, some people are saying $220,000 by December. It could be that by the summer. Because if you look at the last cycle of the last halving, we went from 8,500 to, in May, it was 20,000. It broke the previous all-time high, I think, in September, October, something like that, of 2020. So I don't think 220 is like an outlier. I don't think it's that far away. Considering a month ago we were at 50,000. A year ago, 14 months ago, January of 2023, we were at 19,000. It's already done a 3x in a year. So let me bring this in, this other bookmark. So people talk about, what if the government shuts the internet down? So Bitcoin Magazine put this out. They put into Google, can Bitcoin be stopped? So they're asking Google, which is an AI. This is what Google said. To even have a chance to stop Bitcoin, every government in the world would have to successfully coordinate simultaneously to shut down the entire internet everywhere and then keep it off forever. Even in that improbable scenario, the Bitcoin network can be communicated over radio signals and mesh networks. So even Google knows how strong it is. Type this into your search engine, can Bitcoin be stopped? And see what you find. Bitcoin has pulled back more in the last 2 weeks than it was priced in USD before that last halving. Hold and don't let us your hands, Bitcoin. Yeah, exactly. Matt S. Boom, Matt. Shave your knuckles for justice and buy Bitcoin. I would like to throw in there that conservatives in America like what El Salvador and Argentina are doing. Okay, that's a valid point. So first of all, you got to do, first you have to separate the two. Milei has not made, he's done some things differently. So Bukele made Bitcoin legal tender in this country. Milei has said you can use he's included Bitcoin in their currency. Milei is also pro-Israel, which that's not a good thing. Bukele was critical of the Hamas attack on October 7th, but he's of Palestinian origin, so he's not taking any money that I know of from Israel. So those are two different things. Just to separate how those countries are roughly doing. The locking up of the criminals, a lot of conservatives like what they're doing that. Now, I'm obviously not a conservative, but to make this point very, very clear, what the gangs were doing here in El Salvador was awful. And people say, oh, they're just locking up guys for having tattoos. Well, to earn a tattoo in the MS-13 or the MS-18 gang, I believe was the other one, you had to commit rape or murder to earn a tattoo. So those are the things you had to do to earn those tattoos. So they're not just like arresting somebody who's just got like a rose on their arm or something like that. When you have gang tattoos, they know the only way you got those tattoos was committing horrible acts of violence. So that's what they're doing. And this country is so safe. Last night there's a guy that I kind of run into, a surfer, and we work out at the same gym, and we just started talking. And he's been coming down here as a surfer for like 10 years. A couple months every winter. And he was like telling me what it was like. He was like, oh man, it was so dangerous and no one was here. And you couldn't leave your flip-flops on the beach when you went surfing. Someone would steal them. And all of the hotels had armed guards, and it was really, really dangerous and scary. So, Matt, I know you've watched my other show, Political Vigilante, and I'm very critical of American police abusing power and the American prison system, which is a for-profit prison system that has people locked up for smoking weed. That's not good. That's not what's happening in El Salvador. That was the murder capital of the world. The capital, San Salvador, where I'm at right now, in the downtown main square, you couldn't go down there. It was not safe. You couldn't pull out your phone. It would be ripped out of your pocket. And now, Salvadorians were paying roughly $5 billion a year in extortion money. If you had any type of business at all, twice a month, someone would come and pay. We interviewed Bob Gillespie like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and he was down here like 10 years ago. And he said, oh, Graham, he went to a restaurant and the guy had to pay $500 a month or whatever. There's a woman living in in the Airbnb I'm staying at, the little hotel Airbnb I'm staying at. She's Salvadorian. She was saying her boyfriend at the time owned a gym and he had to pay every month. And they had a friend who had a gym in another part of town. And he said, you know what, I'm not paying the gangs anymore. And they killed him. We had Reina Chicas on this show a month ago, and she said every single Salvadorian was affected by the violence. Either it happened directly to you, or a family member, or somebody you knew. Everybody. There's nobody that had nothing that never had. Everyone was affected by it. So they were in a state of emergency, and he did what had to be done. And now the country is safe and thriving. And it's not like the nonsense and I understand that like lefty criticism of like, because in America we had Joe Biden and Bill Clinton sign the Biden crime bill, which was awful. That bill was used to demonize largely the Black community and Latino communities, and it was a for-profit prison bill. That's not what's happening. That's not what's, and they made violence seem worse than it, not that there wasn't gang violence in America, and there still is, but they made it seem like, oh, this is look at America. So we keep saying when we pass these tough on crime bills or whatever, and that's just to keep Americans scared. We're not really fixing the problem. I mean, Los Angeles, I've talked about this before, the Los Angeles Police Department gets 54% of the city's operating budget, $3.1 billion a year, and LA has a horrible crime problem. So if you're spending that much money a year, there should be no crime. But they're not getting at the root of it. They just want to keep throwing money at it. And it's good for business. It's like the war machine. I've always said this before, that the foreign policy of the United States that is fueled by the defense industry, we do a similar model in our cities. We spend all this money on military-grade equipment for our police departments, vehicles, overtime, whatever. But we're just throwing money at the problem so these companies can profit. We're not actually fixing the problem. What Bukele did was fix the problem. These were violent, awful criminals that were terrorizing, killing, raping people, and no one was safe. And now he's changed everything. But a great question, Matt. I appreciate you putting that in there. Hold on, let me get that fixed. Satoshi. I think trying to figure out who Satoshi is like, whatever. I think Satoshi, whoever that person or persons are, were smart enough to make sure no one's ever going to find out who they are, ever. All right. Folks, you can support the show like Matt S. did and hit the super chat button. Thanks, Matt. Man, good to have you here, Matt. You always ask great questions. We have 460 people watching. Look at that. Ba-boom. Ba-boom, boom, pow. And you see, that's the thing I like, Matt, and anyone in the chat, when it's totally fair to ask these reasonable questions. What drives me nuts is just this like, no, he's bad, just screaming accusations. Asking a legitimate question. You want to know what is this? You want to honestly get the answer rather than just, I'm right, you're wrong. And it's something Max and I talked about. We've talked about on the show numerous times of this country has lost its ability to have like discussions and debates. That's what makes a democracy, is you should have debates. And you should be able to ask questions. Now, some people flip out when you even just ask certain questions. That's not good either. Or people just come at and start accusing. So that's what I like, Matt, is you ask, what do you think of this? This is a reasonable question, which are good questions to ask. So speaking of money getting wasted, and the other thing too, American media and American politicians criticizing Bukele is like preposterous. Communists have no sense of humor. They're the worst at parties. Extremists of any, like the religious right is usually pretty unfunny. Like some lefty activists can be humorless. If people get all bent out of shape, then they're not funny. When will Max Kaiser debate Peter Schiff again? I don't think Schiff wants to get crushed again. Schiff is wrong. He knows he's wrong about Bitcoin, and he just can't admit it. He's too like immature to go, I don't know what I'm. So So he's going to never admit it. So that's what I think is happening with Peter Schiff. He just is like, I'm wrong and I can't admit it. But let's talk about this one. All right. So the House just passed a bill that cements genocide as official U.S. policy. The legislation gives Israel $3.8 billion in weapons sanctions. UNRWA, which is the United Nations, as Palestinians starve, and defunds a UN investigation into Israel's violations of international law. All but 22 Democrats voted for it. Okay, this is it. This is part of the $1.2 trillion in government spending until September 30th, right? 101 Republicans voted for it. 112 Republicans said no. 185 Democrats voted yes, and 22 Democrats, only 22 Democrats voted no. Which means more Democrats voted for this than Republicans. And what I put was Dems like genocide a little more than Republicans. Now that's progress. Remember when the Republican Party during George Bush 20 years ago was the big war party and the Democrats were supposed to be the anti? This is the scam of the two-party system in America. This is why I believe in Bitcoin. This is why I'm in El Salvador. Because both of these parties, I mean, look, 286 people voted yes, 134 voted no. And my guess is a lot of the people voting no, it was performative. I mean, maybe they voted honestly, but both parties support war, as this bill. Both parties, we know both parties get money from AIPAC. The Democrats clearly get more money from AIPAC, but the Republicans get money from AIPAC as well. AIPAC and the NRA are like mirror opposites, right? So the NRA gives more money to Republicans, but there's still Democrats that take NRA money, which is why we still have mass shootings and all America gets his thoughts and prayers. And then AIPAC gives the majority of its money to Democrats, but still to Republicans, as is the voting, this voting indicates. So while there's tent cities in every major American metropolitan area, right? Every major city in America has homeless encampments, every single one. You know, San Francisco is worse, but every single city has them. I was in San Antonio, Texas, like a year or two ago. They have them. They're everywhere. Homeless people are everywhere. And we can't seem to fix that problem, but we can send $3.8 billion to Israel. We don't have free healthcare in America. We don't have Medicare for all. You know who's got free healthcare? Israel has free healthcare. And we even know, I mean, Bukele pointed this out. I've known about this for years, but I'm so glad Bukele pointed this out when he spoke at CPAC is Americans, we don't even need to pay taxes because the United States prints money. It could print money and just, we all have free healthcare and free college. They could erase student debt. They could just do that if they wanted to. But they make us pay taxes, which taxation is theft. And then they just print a bunch of money and send it out to the war zones. Unreal, man. Unreal. This is why I'm a huge Bitcoin proponent. Because Bitcoin takes the power away from the central bank. So the central banks work with the central governments, and the central banks are a part of the war machine. They fund the war. One of the big things that banks love about war is the debt. All sides in a war have to keep spending to keep the war going, which is debt. Banks love debt. They love it when countries are in debt. They love it when you're in debt, when I'm in debt. You know, I just paid off my credit cards. Ha ha, suck it. just paid off credit cards and bought Bitcoin. Suck it, central banks. So that's what they want. And wars are great because it's endless spending. Both sides in a war just have to keep spending, have to keep spending, have to keep spending. That's why America doesn't want a ceasefire, because a ceasefire is bad for business. There's not a lot of profit in peace, so we have to keep the war going. And there was just some type of terrorist attack in Moscow at a concert or something like that. I don't know the details of it, but I follow some people who live in Moscow, and I have friends that live in Moscow. And apparently, the last I heard, there was 40 people killed. There might be more than that. A bunch of people were injured, but there was some type of terrorist attack. One person's maybe been arrested, but I don't know. And I don't know who did it, but some Israeli officials very recently were like, Russia's, they won't help Israel, so we're anti-Russia. I don't know what happened. I will say this, in my personal opinion, I wouldn't put it past the United States to be behind it some way, or the CIA or Israel. I wouldn't put it behind it. I wouldn't put it past them. I don't think Putin is some saint, but I also don't, Putin has never like killed or blown up his own people. I don't think he would do that at all. America would. We do this kind of crap all the time. Somebody talked about 1984, changed my life in view of wars. Yeah. And when you start to look at, again, this is why I'm a Bitcoiner. I say on my other show, follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth, right? Which in Bitcoin, we say don't trust, verify. So anyone who thinks in America, well, their party is better than the other party, look at that. I just showed you. Both parties, anytime you hear bipartisan support, both parties voted for that bill. A few more Republicans voted against it than Democrats, but both parties overall voted for it. A majority of Republicans and a majority of Democrats voted for that bill. Spending $1.2 trillion, 3.8 billion of it goes to Israel to keep this genocide, bombing hospitals and killing children and saying we're stopping Hamas. No, you're not. When you're bombing children, you're not stopping Hamas. When America was bombing innocent people in Iraq and Afghanistan, we weren't stopping terrorists or ISIS or whatever. We were actually helping create more terrorists. I don't have kids of my own, but I have 6 nieces and nephews. And if somebody bombed them, I would join whatever group was going against the people that bombed them. I'll tell you that right now, hands down, no 2 ways about it. You can't bomb and oppress people and kill innocent people and then act shocked that people go, well, you're killing me anyway, I might as well fight back. That's what I would do. So I've pointed this out before. We'll do this open secrets. We'll go to this website. We're going to do this. So I've done this before, but I haven't done this on this show. So this is something that go to opensecrets.org. I don't think I've ever done it on Orange Pill. This website is very critical. So if you're a Bitcoiner and you're like, don't trust, verify, here's all you need to know about American politics. So Open Secrets is a non-for-profit, nonpartisan, right here, nonpartisan, independent, and nonprofit. Open Secrets is the nation's premier research group tracking money in U.S. politics and its effect on elections and public policy. Our mission is to track the flow of money in American politics and provide the data and analysis to strengthen democracy. Okay? So for those of you who aren't aware, maybe there's people in other countries, but elections in America are, the overseeing governing body is called the FEC, the Federal Elections Commission. If you make a donation to any political candidate or party or campaign that is $2,000 or more, you have to fill out all this paperwork and it's declared. So what this does, what Open Secrets does is is track who gets what money. It cuts through all the bullshit. Don't read candidates or your favorite, even a politician you voted for. Don't read their Twitter page. They're going to say this and that, and their website. Oh, we're this, I'm against that. See where they're getting their money from. That will tell you the truth. So I'm going to type in defense industry spending. Well, first we'll do this. Defense sector spent $101 million on lobbying during the first 3 quarters of 2022. So all this war that's happening in Ukraine and Israel, what Israel's doing, it's part of the war machine, okay? But then let's go back, candidates. Let's go back to this one. This is my favorite one to do. Okay. Defense sector. So you can just type in, right, who spent what? Top contributors in 2022, in 2023 and 2024. It's right here on the screen, right? You see it? Lockheed Martin, right? 1.9 million, 800,000 to Dems, 1 million to Republicans. Almost even split. Northrop Grumman, 1.2 million, 600-some thousand to the Democrats, 600-some thousand to the Republicans. Right down the middle. Right down the middle. Okay? General Atomics, 1.2 million. 207,000. They went a little more red. They went a little more heavy on the red. 300-some thousand, almost 300,000 to the Dems, 800-some thousand to the Republicans. Okay, right? Harris Technologies, 1.2 million. 450,000 to the Democrats, 750,000 to the Republicans. Okay, pretty fair. RTX Group, $1 million. Almost even. 5-something to the Republicans, almost a little under 500 to the Democrats. Look at this. See this? I'm not making this up. This isn't conspiratorial. I'm not coming up with this is open secrets. This is a matter of public record. Okay? Contribution trends. Look at this. Annual lobbying totals since 1998. Look at all this. $2023. Look at this money. $65 million in miscellaneous defense. $56 million in aerospace. $14 million in electronics. Party split. It looks like they give a little bit more to the Republicans, but they spend money on war. Let's do this one. Let's do 2020 contributions to here, 2020, total contributions, right? Okay, that's 2020. That's the last election year. Let's go recipients. Oh, this is my favorite. The last presidential election, okay? So we're going to have Trump versus Biden again. The lesser of two creepy old rapists. Joe Biden, so the defense industry paid a total of about $49 million to all candidates running for office in 2020. So as president, so all the people in the Democratic primary, Trump, everybody running for Congress and the Senate. Look at this. This is my favorite one. Top 20 recipients. Joe Biden, number one, $3.3 million. Donald Trump, 2.9 million. Look at those numbers. there is $400,000 that separates them. Bernie Sanders, 902,000. Those were the top three guys. It came down to Bernie and Joe Biden in the Democratic primary, and Trump was the incumbent. They spent almost equally on Biden and Trump. So anybody that thinks, oh, if Trump gets in, he's going to be peaceful. No. He's going to keep the war machine going. That's what Trump did. Everyone's like, he didn't start any new wars, but he kept the 7 countries that he inherited from Obama. So Obama took us from 2 wars to 7, right? Bush got us into an illegal war. Obama dropped more bombs than Bush, even though he did the theatrics of pulling the troops out, which I'm glad he got U.S. service members out of harm's way, but he was bombing. He dropped more bombs than Bush. Trump dropped more bombs than Obama, and now Biden is dropping more bombs than Trump. Why? Because they're paid to. This is why I am a Bitcoiner. This is why I'm outside of the central banks. Look at this, Bernie Sanders, Kate Granger, David Perdue. Look at them, everyone in the Senate, they got a lot of money. Republican and Democrat, John Ossoff, Jamie Harrison, Liz Warren. Oh, Bitcoin's bad for the environment, but I'm going to take $358,000 from the defense industry. That was just the money she took in 2020. Now, she was running for the White House, so they're just hedging their bets. They were just hedging their bets. Everybody running for president got a little taste. Every single one, but the 2 biggest ones. So what do you think is going to happen in 2024? When these 2 guys start running again, when they start actually getting out there and campaigning against each other, the defense industry will spend this money again. Country was better under Trump. Yeah, see, let go of that. Let go of that. No, it wasn't. Trump bombed everybody. I mean, it's awful. Biden is an awful president. So is Trump. Let go of that, like, lesser of 2 evils crap. Let go of that, like, hey, Trump, the shit sandwich Trump made us eat tasted just a little bit better. It was still a shit sandwich. These guys are awful. They're awful. Neither one. Vote third party. Like, these guys are awful. They're awful. They're going to keep bombing. Trump gave a $1.4 trillion tax break to the wealthiest Americans. It's awful. I don't want either one of them to win. They're awful. Like, that thing is, they're so bad. There was a Democratic primary in 2020, yes. When I was in Iraq, the L3 contractors made about $300K a year, and I made about $30K for doing the same job. Oh, I've heard that story so many times, Robert. I've been to Iraq and Afghanistan and Kuwait as a stand-up comic to do comedy shows for the military. I was in Afghanistan 04, 06, 07, and I was in Iraq 07, 08, and 2011, and I was in Kuwait in 2012. I saw that so many times. I saw so many guys like, man, I'm making 30, 40 grand a year for the military, and these contractors are making 150, 200, 300 grand. Like you said, I heard that story so many times. Follow Money Deep Throat. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah, that's a good book. Stay humble, yeah. Yeah. Kept Assange in prison. That's the other thing too. Assange called out the crimes of the United States empire. He called them out under Bush, under Obama. Obama put, Chelsea Manning in jail. Trump could have let Julian Assange free, didn't. You're nitpicking over who's a better serial killer? I mean, it's literally like, well, I'm voting for Ted Bundy because at least he didn't eat his victims like Jeffrey Dahmer did. He just beat the crap out of these women and cut them up. And, that's all he did. I'll take that over a cannibal. Like literally the bar is so low. That's what we're discussing. Hit the like button, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. This is why I'm a big Bitcoin proponent. America, they can't, and Liz Warren flat out said this, they can't sanction countries with Bitcoin takes away their ability to sanction countries. Like they can't use the IMF. The IMF wants you to go into debt. The IMF is just like a regular bank. The way a regular bank wants you and I to just rack up credit card debt and buy shit we can't afford and then keep us working in some shitty job. The IMF just does that on a nation state level, right? That's what the IMF does. We'll loan you money, but then we'll ultimately make you addicted to our money and just, ruin your economy and to make you have to borrow more money from us to fix your economy. So when El Salvador was like, yeah, we don't need you, man. They paid off a bunch of their money last year. And now they put over 5,600 full Bitcoin in cold storage. Right? So I buy 1,000 pounds of Bitcoin every time you stream right on. The real tool of sanctions is a Swiss system for international transactions. That's a great point. Getting back to El Salvador. So there's roughly 3 million Salvadorians living abroad, mainly in America and Canada, but living in other countries as well. And they're have been sending money back home and having to pay the fees, these SWIFT codes and PayPal and all this other crap. And with Bitcoin, you don't. You have to pay a little fee to send the money, but it's nothing. It's pennies on the dollar compared to what you were having to spend sending fiat currency down to your family in El Salvador or anywhere you live. I was just looking at the Philippines. The Philippines has some Bitcoin bubbles. They have a Bitcoin island. Philippines looks beautiful, looks warm, looks like there's good surf, looks like there's a cool, affordable culture there. The Filipinos I've met in the US, in Los Angeles and there's a lot of Filipinos in Hawaii. Really cool. So that's what I'm looking at. Is there going to be a Bitcoin supply crunch? Gee, I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know. There could be. That could drive the price up. I think the hyper-Bitcoinization is coming to where things will start to be priced in Bitcoin. Instead of like this house costs 400,000, they'll go, this house costs 5 Bitcoin or whatever. I'm a snowboard and race car driver though. Gas prices will overcome the U.S. war political machine. When this happens, a chance to reform the nation states agreement in favor of Bitcoin. Yeah, that's a great point, Marvin. That's the thing. As these crises get worse, people just might go, ooh, Bitcoin to the rescue. The United States government actually owns a lot of Bitcoin that it seized. So if the United States government wanted to do it, they could just go, yeah, we're switching to Bitcoin. The U.S. government could do stuff because taxes are theft anyway. They Bitcoin, the U.S. government could go, okay, you owe, let's say $2,000 in taxes, but it's only $500 if you pay us in Bitcoin. That would force people to go, what's this Bitcoin? I'll figure it out. I'll convert it to Bitcoin and pay them in Bitcoin. So I'm saving all this money in taxes. The U.S. government could do that. Yeah. So, all right, guys, I think that's pretty much our show. So next week we're off. It's a big, the whole holiday going into Easter is a big thing here. So the studio's closed. The whole week is off. And then we'll be back Monday, April 1st. And that'll be my last show because my deal was to come down here for 2 months, which has been awesome. It's been an awesome thing. And I will do my last show Monday, April 1st. And then hopefully I'll be back. We're still working on all those details and stuff like that. It's been really cool. Working with Max and Stacy has been awesome. The crew here has been fantastic. Salvadorians are so nice. It's so, it's such a cool environment here. And I've met so many amazing people, both just locals and Bitcoiners and just other people traveling who don't know much about Bitcoin that I'm like, yeah, I'm a Bitcoiner. You should learn more about it. Yeah. But I gotta, so April 1st will be my last. So next week we're off. Then we'll be back April 1st. That'll be my last show. April, I'll be back in the States because I've got some work up there to do, which will be cool. But I'll be back down here for sure because I really like it. And I'm just working out, details and hopefully coming down here on a more permanent basis and doing the show more and expanding and doing a lot of cool stuff. We got a lot of cool stuff in the works. So very, very exciting. Don't stay away too long. I will not stay away too long. And I really appreciate it. It's been cool. A lot of you have started to watch the show and like what I'm doing. And obviously you like what, Stacy and Max are doing. But we're going to be doing more cool stuff, more scripted content, movies, TV shows. That's kind of what we're working on. So there's a lot of moving parts to that. We're just kind of getting that all lined up, and that's going to take a little time, and we'll have more updates on that. So have a great weekend. Like, share, subscribe. Again, you can see all of our below at Orange Pill Pod, at Max Kaiser, at Stacy Herbert, at Graham Elwood. Bitcoin meetup, April 7th in El Zonte, right? Yes, that's the Bitcoin. Well, first, I think there's a meetup on the 29th, a week from today. That's the last Friday of every month, I believe. And then there's the big halving party in Bitcoin Beach, which is, I think, like the 7th and 8th, or 6th and 8th, 7th and 8th. Go to I think it's Bitcoin Beach website and or Twitter, which is at Bitcoin Beach. But if you're in El Salvador next week, there's a bunch of events, or the week after. April 2nd is the Me Premier Bitcoin halving party, which is in San Salvador. And they're having a graduation ceremony for the students. Me Premier Bitcoin is really cool. And then there's the 4th, 5th, and 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I think, out in Mazati Beach. There's a big having party out there at this really cool resort, which is awesome. You can go to that. And then the Bitcoin Beach having party is that weekend of like the 6th and 7th, I believe. And then out in Berlin, the eastern part of the country, they're having their having party on the 8th and 9th, I think. So there's a lot of really cool stuff. Come find me in El Salvador. I like your show. No, don't leave. Don't worry. I'll be back. Well, have a great, if you celebrate Easter, enjoy that, or have a great weekend. Next week will be off. I will see you all April 1st, Monday, April 1st. So have a great weekend. Muchas gracias. Buen fin de semana. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye, everybody. Stack sats.